The family butchered in Oregon, the forgotten axe murder mystery of 1911. Before we dive in, kindly hit the subscribe button and let us know where you are watching from in the comment. It was a quiet town, one of those places where people left doors unlocked. And then it wasn't. June 10th, 1911. Rain was just beginning to clear in the small logging town of Rainier, Oregon. The sun peeked through the clouds like it didn't want to see what was about to be found. A boy barefoot 12 was the first to knock. He came by every morning to deliver eggs. But that morning, no one answered. No sounds. No smells of coffee or wood smoke. Just silence. He peeked in the front window. Then he dropped the basket. Eggs shattered on the porch. And so did his innocence. Sheriff Lyman was first on the scene. He never forgot what he saw. The Kreider family, 5 people, were butchered in their beds. Father, mother, 3 children. All killed with an axe. All attacked while they slept. All gone in one night. The axe was found propped outside the door. No blood on the handle. It had been wiped clean. Inside, the walls told the real story. Sprayed, splattered, streaked with violence. Every mirror was covered with cloth. Every window locked from the inside. The killer took their time, but left in a hurry. John Kreider, 42, hardworking logger, devout, trusted by all. Anna, 38, ran the house, baked for the neighbors, taught Sunday school. Helen, 12, loved to draw, always had a pencil in her hand. Ruth, 9, bright smile, quick temper. Samuel, 6, shy, clung to his mother's skirts. They had no enemies, no debts, no dark past. So why were they killed? The sheriff's team found several oddities. A bowl of water by the back door, stained pink. A lantern, turned down low, left burning through the night. A half-eaten apple, left on the kitchen counter. But no fingerprints, no footprints, nothing taken. Even stranger, neighbors reported seeing no one come or go. The house sat just a few hundred feet from the woods. Dense, quiet, the perfect place to disappear. Word spread fast. By midday, the town was in panic. Families started boarding windows. Men kept rifles by the bed. Children weren't allowed outside after dark. The sheriff brought in the Oregon State Police, but they had no experience with something like this. Multiple murders in one night? Unheard of. The press called it Oregon's House of Death. Reporters came by train. So did the gawkers. But answers? None. 2 days later, another family was attacked. 30 miles east. Same method. 3 dead. Axe used. Mirrors covered. But this time, the killer was interrupted. A neighbor heard screams and ran over. Found the back door swinging. Inside, blood was fresh. The axe still dripping. But the killer gone. Now it was no longer just a tragedy. It was a manhunt. Deputies rode on horseback. Dogs sniffed out trails. A reward was posted. $200 for information leading to arrest. Townspeople whispered of a drifter, or a madman, or a demon. Some believed it was a curse. Others locked their doors and prayed. Every shadow felt sharper. Every creak in the floor was a warning. And in the background, the forest waited, thick with secrets, too quiet. A week later, something shifted. A woman, Martha Dillard, stumbled into a neighboring town, bruised, bleeding, alive. She claimed the killer had come to her home near Rainier. "I woke up," she said, "and he was standing there, hat low, axe in hand." She screamed. He froze, then ran. She couldn't describe his face, but she remembered one thing. He smelled like sawdust and smoke. Investigators returned to the Kreider house. They had missed something. Etched into the underside of a dresser drawer, barely visible, were the words, "I warned you." The silence was loud. No one knew what it meant, or who it was for. But it wasn't the last message. As the days went on, more questions rose. Was this the work of a serial killer before the term even existed? Why were the mirrors covered? Was the Kreider family the first? Or just the first we know about? The axe fell. But the story didn't stop there. 5 days after the Kreider family was buried, a letter arrived. No return address. No handwriting, just typed. The paper was yellowed. It was sent to the office of the Oregonian. The headline hadn't even faded from the public's mind. But the letter shook the newsroom. The letter read, "I asked them to listen. I asked them to be silent. The woods know who I am. You cannot find what you do not hear. The axe isn't done." There was no signature, just a symbol at the bottom. A triangle, drawn in black ink. It looked almost burned into the page. 2 days later, it happened again. Another murder. Same method. Same axe. Same silence. This time in Scappoose, a small mill town near the Columbia River. 3 members of the Tolliver family, dead in their sleep, mirrors covered, front door locked from the inside. The axe? Left in the chicken coop. Just like before, handle wiped clean. And there, on the kitchen table, another letter. Same typewriter. Same triangle. News of the letters leaked. The press ran wild. Oregon's axeman writes again. Is this a serial killer? Terror in the timber. The town's fear turned to fury. People wanted action. They wanted arrests. They wanted safety. But law enforcement? They were lost. There was no forensics. No DNA. Just blood and letters. Sheriff Lyman couldn't sleep. Not after seeing the Tolliver house. So he reached out to a man named Henry Voss. Voss was no ordinary detective. He had studied criminology in Boston. He'd worked strange murders before. And most importantly, he believed in patterns. He came by train, wore a black coat, carried a small notebook. The first thing he did? Compare the letters. His findings were simple but chilling. Same typewriter model, same ink, same triangle symbol, and spacing errors that pointed to a broken E key. This wasn't random. This was method. This was someone playing a long, dark game. Voss gave him a name, the Triangle Killer. He believed the murders were ritualistic, planned, obsessive, and the triangle could be symbolic, he said. 3 families, 3 deaths, 3 messages. Was it religious, occult, personal? No one knew, but something else surfaced. A widow came forward, said her sister's family was murdered near the Idaho border. In 1909, they lived in a small cabin near the Snake River. She remembered the mirrors were covered, the axe was missing, and weeks later she received a letter. She had forgotten about it. Until now, she pulled it from an old Bible. It was typed, and at the bottom, a triangle. Now the map had 4 pins. Rainier, Scappoose, near Snake River, and one more murder just north of Portland in 1910, almost forgotten. Voss believed the killer was moving south to north, or circling, following rivers and rail lines. He knows these places. For more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. The killer had a rhythm, a beat, like footsteps in the woods, like the echo of an axe. And now, Detective Henry Voss was chasing that sound. Voss laid it all out. He spread a large map of Oregon across his hotel bed, marked each murder site: Rainier, Scappoose, Snake River, Astoria. He circled a central region in red: the Tillamook Forest, thick pines, deep creeks, few roads, the perfect place to disappear or to hunt. Locals had stories. A man seen wandering with a pack, long beard, glassy eyes, sometimes muttering, sometimes silent. They called him Pine Jack, said he'd been there for years. One lumberjack swore he saw him sharpening an axe, not for trees, for something else. Voss took the story seriously. He gathered a team, 2 deputies, 1 tracker, and a hunting dog named Rex. They went in. They walked for hours. Rain turned the soil to mush. The trees groaned. The wind howled. But then, the dog stopped, snarled. Something was there. A shack, made of branches and rusted metal, tucked behind a boulder, hidden from the world. They entered with weapons drawn. Inside, a cot, torn blankets, bones, animal maybe not, and a wall of clippings, all about the murders, carefully cut. pinned with small nails, and in the center, a single word, carved into the wood, "Listen." Beside it, a triangle. Under the cot, they found a notebook, half-burned, pages missing, but what remained was chilling. They scream in silence. The blood sings loudest at night. Triangles mean balance. 3 sides, 3 trials. I am chosen. Voss copied it all. Had it sent to a handwriting expert. But there was no name, no confession, just madness. Or a map. 3 nights later it happened. A hunter claimed he was followed. Something behind the trees, moving fast. Not an animal. A man, tall, thin, dragging something metal. The hunter fired his rifle into the dark. No sound, no body, but in the morning, a triangle was scratched into his cabin door. Back in Portland, a name came up. Jeremiah Phelps, once a preacher, then a recluse, went missing in 1907. Before he vanished, he'd preached fire and judgment, talked about cutting sin from the roots, warned people to seal mirrors or invite death. The townsfolk thought he was insane, but he wasn't harmless, because Jeremiah once lived near Rainier, and his father had been a butcher. At the county archive, Voss pulled old census records, found a property deed, Jeremiah's name, right on the edge of Tillamook Forest. It matched the shack's location. That wasn't coincidence. That was a trail. Voss now had a name, a motive, and a place, but not a body. A folklorist contacted Voss, said the triangle and silence had meaning. In old Oregon logging camp legends, there was a story of a silent judge who lived in the trees. He punished those who brought chaos, forced quiet by blade, marked his path with 3 sides, myth or blueprint. Back in the shack, the team returned, searched again. This time, they dug beneath the floor, found a box. Inside, a blood-stained cloth, torn baby shoe, and a note. He wouldn't stop crying. Voss dropped the box, stepped outside, threw up. This wasn't just murder. This was something colder. That night, a fire broke out on the ridge above the shack. When Voss arrived, the shack was ash, gone, and standing at the edge of the flames, a figure. For one brief second, he saw him, tall, thin, eyes glowing red in the light, then gone. The forest swallowed him whole. Was it Jeremiah Phelps? Was it Pine Jack? Was it something older? For months after the shack burned, silence returned to Oregon. But not for long, because when the 4th family died, everything changed. Elgin, Oregon, quiet, remote, nestled near the Blue Mountains. April 1912. A farmer named Edwin Brooks didn't show up at market. Not on Monday, not on Tuesday. His neighbor rode out to check. What he found would haunt Elgin forever. The Brooks house was still. No animals stirred. No smoke from the chimney. He knocked. No answer. He pushed open the door. The smell hit first. Then the silence. Then the blood. Inside the kitchen, Edwin Brooks, slumped forward on the table. Back of the head split wide open. His wife, Margaret, collapsed at the stove. Blood soaked her apron. Their 3 children found in their beds. No signs of struggle. Just clean, brutal blows. 5 lives. Gone. 1 axe. Left behind in the sink. Clean. Still wet. On the wall, above the fireplace, was a fresh carving. A triangle. Same size. Same tilt. Below it, 1 word, painted in red. Enough. Voss was called immediately. He arrived the next morning. He walked through the house, jaw tight, gloves on. He didn't speak until he reached the wall. Then he said, "He's angry." Voss gathered everything. Photos, notes, witness statements. He noticed something no one else had. Each family, each murder, happened near a rail line, not just close, but within earshot of a train. Was the killer traveling by rail? He made a list of small towns with similar setups. Then he found something else. In the Brooks children's room sat a broken music box, a lullaby tune, but when turned, it only played 1 note, over and over, a single, sharp, high-pitched D. almost like a warning or a call. Voss sent it to a specialist. The gears inside had been tampered with, deliberately. In a kitchen drawer, behind stacks of yellowed recipes, Voss found a journal. Margaret's handwriting was tidy, but near the end, her entries turned frantic. The baby won't sleep. The tapping won't stop. We hear something in the trees, not animals. Edwin says it's just wind, but I don't believe him. Last night, the sound came from inside the barn. It was humming. The last entry simply read, "He's here." Neighbors reported strange noises in the week before the murders. Not voices, not music. A hum, low and constant, like bees in the walls. Others described it differently, like a train engine, but without tracks, without wheels, just noise and dread. The Oregonian newspaper received a strange letter 10 days later. Typed, "I warned them. They played when silence was due. I heard their laughter. The lines are broken. There must be balance." Signed with a triangle. Postmarked from Spokane. Voss sent men up there. They found nothing. A local medium named Miss Eloise contacted Voss. Said she had seen the blade. He didn't believe in that sort of thing, but something in her voice made him listen. She claimed the killer wasn't alone, that he was called, summoned by imbalance, drawn to chaos, and to families hiding secrets. She pointed to Voss's map, tapped 3 towns, Rainier, Astoria, Elgin. Then she added a 4th, Pendleton, a place that hadn't been touched yet. He wired Pendleton's sheriff, warned him, told him to double patrols, stay alert. But Voss had a gut feeling. He went there himself, rode the train, watched every passenger, looked for someone tall, thin, alone. At one stop, a man boarded, black coat, no luggage, eyes like ice. He got off 2 stops later. Without a word, Voss followed. Voss checked into Pendleton's main inn. The night clerk gave him room 6. But when Voss reached his door, he stopped. Taped to it, a torn slip of newspaper. The headline, "Family found dead near rail line." No note, no explanation, just a message. He was being watched. Back in Portland, the press grew louder. People were afraid. Whispers of a serial killer, of curses, of forest demons. The state governor got involved, offered a reward, but the killer didn't care, because a week later, a 5th family would vanish. And this time, he wouldn't leave an axe behind. It ended where it began, but not how anyone expected. The truth didn't come from a confession, came from the dirt, and once it surfaced, Oregon would never bury it again. May 1912, the Cooper family vanished. 5 members, gone overnight. No broken windows, no blood, no signs of struggle, just an empty farmhouse. Chairs still warm, food still on the stove, and this time no axe, no triangle, no letter, only silence. Too clean, too fast. Detective August Voss sat in the Cooper kitchen for hours. He lit a single lamp, let the dark press in. He didn't move, didn't speak, just listened. At 2:11 a.m. he heard it. Not outside, below, a dull echo, like metal scraping stone. And then, silence again. The cellar door had been nailed shut. From the inside, Voss pried it open. The stairs led down, dirt walls, rotting beams, and then, a hollow sound beneath his feet. He dug with his hands. Just a few inches down, wood. He pulled it up. It was a box. No lock, no hinge. Inside, newspapers, bones, and a map. The map was hand-drawn, old, torn, but unmistakable. 5 dots, one for each family, each dot marked with a triangle. But there was a 6th, unmarked, remote, deep in the Wallowa forest. The name written beneath it, Echo Site. Voss went alone. No backup, no press, just a gun, a shovel, and the map. It took 2 days by horseback, and then the trees swallowed him. He reached the spot marked Echo Site just before dusk, and what he found was not a house. It was a mound, covered in moss, half hidden by roots. Not man-made, not natural, something in between. At the base of the mound, behind vines and rock, he found it. A rusted door, wooden, metal reinforced. He pulled it open. Inside, a spiral staircase, descending into cold. No sound, no light, only the smell of earth. And something else, decay. At the bottom, a chamber, stone walls, carved symbols, old tools. A rusted axe hung from the ceiling by a chain, still stained. And in the center, pit. Voss peered inside. Dozens of bones. Some animal, some not. He stepped back, and then saw it, etched into the stone floor. The balance must be kept. The pattern was real, but the killer, still a ghost. Voss returned to Portland with the journal, map, and photos. For weeks, he slept with a pistol under his pillow. Then, one morning, he was gone. Room unlocked. No signs of struggle. His files burned. Only thing left behind, his badge, and a triangle carved into the mirror. In 1974, a historian named Ellen Harrow reopened the case. She believed the murders were ritualistic, that the killer belonged to a forgotten cult. She found records of a secret group from the 1800s. They called themselves the Equinox Circle. Their doctrine? Balance through blood. They believed the land demanded sacrifice, that peace could only come when triangles were completed. Each corner, family, each murder, a point, until the final triangle broke. Harrow's theory, the killer completed his design. The sixth site was the final ritual. Then silence. No more letters, no more deaths. Balance achieved, price paid, and just like that, the terror ended. Over the decades, witnesses claimed they saw him in train stations, on empty roads, watching from alleys. For more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.